Hello beginners, here's your video for your home practice time about how your fingers should go and how they should not go, okay? So violins and violas, you're going to want to have your instrument up in its nice good tall play position, okay? If you have a shoulder rest, you'll be able to bring your arm down and your instrument will stay put, okay? If you don't yet, for practicing this stuff, you can hold on to it with your right hand right there. Okay, so we talked about in class the other day how the thumbprint part of your thumb goes kind of here, and then your fingers curl around, and the fingertip part, if you're going to poke somebody, the poking part would be presses into the string. It's not the fingerprint part, it's not this, it's this. Okay. Another way to think about that is if you were to take your hand and go, ha! That's the direction that your hand needs to go, okay? So your thumb goes back here somewhere, and that'll look a little bit different depending on how your fingers are shaped and things like that. Mine sits down kind of far because my fingers are pretty short. And then your fingers come around and they do things like this. Don't worry about using your fourth finger yet, and yes, unless you're a cello. And one of the things that we need to be careful of is that our wrist stays nice and straight. Okay, and that the ball of your hand, where we talked about where your palm meets your fingers, doesn't strangle the instrument, okay? This is not how I want you to do it. There are some teachers who are okay with that. I am not one of them, okay? So keep that away, and part of the reason is for intonation, and part of the reason is for next year when we learn vibrato. You can't be gripping onto the neck of the instrument and have good vibrato. So you want it to be out here, nice and free, and that is what it should look like. If it starts to look like this, parents especially, if it starts to look like this, tell them to straighten out their wrist, okay? This, it's impossible to play in tune, and eventually it will turn into carpal tunnel or another kind of tendon problem. So make sure it's nice and straight, that these guys are not strangling the instrument. Didn't do anything to you, let it breathe, okay? So that's what it should look like. If you are a cello, pretend this is a cello, okay? The thumbprint part of your thumb goes on the back of the neck, okay? Because your fingerboards are way, way wider. And then it's the same thing. Remember we talked about fingernails on a chalkboard? And then they just go on your fingerboard, okay? And they'll be spread apart, and I'll show you on a cello what your different fingers should sound like so that you can make sure that you're doing that right. All right, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.